Hey everyone. If you've been following me on any of the social media sites I'm on, you might notice that I've been on a little bit of a nostalgia kick lately. Um, so instead of doing actual work today, I was looking through all of my old stuff, my old toys, my old keepsakes, and things like that. And one of the things that I found was an old composition notebook where I had written a story about my Barbie dolls. Um, so I had written fan fiction before I knew what fan fiction was. To give a little bit of context for this, when I was a kid, I used to have a little superhero team with my Barbies, like an X-Men-esque team called the Super Squad, which I'm pretty sure I took from Mystery Men, but I'm not sure. I even had like a Charles Xavier type character who was in a wheelchair, except I didn't have a wheelchair toy, so she just sat all the time, and that's how I portrayed her. She had an evil sister named cleverly Evella, who was this scary looking Barbie with this hideous purple eyeshadow. And I always thought she was really ugly, so that's why I made her the mean evil one. And the main characters in this, for the superhero team, were my Ariel doll and my Blaine doll. Because I thought Blaine, he was the coolest. Like he was a DJ and he was way cooler than Ken. And I only had like three guy dolls, so there wasn't really many to choose from. So anyway, I found this story that I wrote and I started reading it. And I knew immediately that I had to do something with this, because it is really stupid. So I want to share it with all of you guys today. Outside of the first portions of it, I have not actually read this in over a decade. So I'm going to be reading this to you and reenacting it with the very same dolls that I wrote this about. This is absolutely real, so I hope you all enjoy it. Chapter 1. Chance. There's no title to this story, apparently. It's just, we'll call it my Barbie fanfiction. Jennifer woke up to see a face looking toward her. She was old, wearing purple eyeshadow and a long red dress. Her red wings stretched out elegantly. "Where am I?" asked Jennifer. "I am Evella. I captured you so that I may be strong and take over the galaxies," said Evella. "You are to obey me now, and only me." "No, I won't take orders from anyone," said Jennifer. And Jennifer flew away, her pink wings outstretched, her red hair flying behind her, and her pink dress ruffling in the wind. Apparently she had wings. She flew away and came to a hall with all sorts of doors. Some were big enough to hold elephants. Others were so small you could hardly fit a mouse in. She didn't know what to do. She just flew fast with her eyes closed and stopped. There was an old metal door. She ran inside it. There was a table with a man on it. He had on a blue t-shirt with black pants and had blonde hair which was kind of long. She heard Evella coming. Jennifer couldn't just leave him there, so without thinking, she took hold of the man and flew through the window. She got tired after a while and stopped at a lake in a wood. She went to the lake to wash her face and hands. Over a ways, the man was waking up. Chapter 2. Blaine. Blaine had been on a mission. He worked for the Super Squad, who battled against Evella. While on his mission, he had been knocked out and captured. Now he found himself waking up by a lake. He stood up and walked to the water. Suddenly, he noticed a woman there, a pixie. She was the most beautiful thing Blaine had ever set eyes on. She had coppery red hair, beautiful pink wings that glittered in the sunlight, and the most amazing blue eyes. She was singing a song and dipping her hands in the lake. She had the most beautiful voice. And now it suddenly changes to cursive for no particular reason. He had to meet her. Blaine walked up to her and she turned around. She flew up quite a ways before landing again, though her look of panic never left her. Face. Blaine talked to her calmly and told her it was okay, but she spoke nervously and began to step back. "What's your name?" Blaine asked. Jennifer. They told each other their stories. Jennifer, how she had the power to do almost anything. Anything, huh? And how she had been captured and ran away. And Blaine, how he worked for the Super Squad and his capture. They decided to find Blaine's base and Jennifer's home with the Pixies together. Chapter 3. The Black Forest. They walked a while. Jennifer saw a lot of strange and exotic plants. They came across an even stranger plant. Jennifer couldn't help but stop and stare at it. It was like a turnip, but upside down, and was dancing with others like it, but smaller and different colors. Blaine must have been in this forest before, because he seemed amused at Jennifer's shock at seeing the plants. Dancing mushrooms, Blaine explained. They're very common. Although Jennifer thought they looked unlike mushrooms, she didn't say anything and just nodded her head in an appreciative way. Jennifer was looking at an old, sickly green plant with shaking leaves when she was suddenly... Oh, it's back to, non-cursive. When she was suddenly aware that she was being lifted up in a silvery net. Blaine was nowhere to be seen. Cursive again. She just sat in the net hopelessly, wondering what would happen in her way of always getting into trouble to her next. After a while, Jennifer had been changed into different clothes and taken into a small village square. A man stood there, and Jennifer suddenly realized this was a wedding. She was scared. There was screams, and Blaine had arrived, coming to her aid. Are they screaming at Blaine? Chapter 4. Brock. I must have been watching a lot of Pokemon back then. Blaine stopped. He thought Jennifer was even more beautiful now than she ever was. She was dressed in a silk white wedding gown. She had pearly white slippers on. Her wings were shining more brightly than ever, and on her head she wore a magnificent golden crown. The crown was encrusted in opals, rubies, diamonds, and emeralds. He ran to her aid, and he was stopped by other men from the village. Another man came behind and threw a net over the rest of the village. What? He took Jennifer's hand and ran, Blaine alongside them. It's been a really big net. Thanks, said Blaine and Jennifer together. Don't mention it, said the stranger. The name's Brock. Jennifer felt happy, but she couldn't help but think about her home. She thought about riding dragonflies when she shrunk, eating and drinking dewdrops and fruit, but most of all, she missed her family. She just had to follow Brock and Blaine and brace herself for what would happen next. Chapter 5. Attack! They had a wonderful time. It turned out Brock wasn't really a member of that tribe at all. He had been with his parents in the woods when Evella attacked. He lived in the village and had been a misfit ever since. So that's why you captured them, explained Jennifer, to get even. I right did too, stated Brock. What? Jennifer and Brock were in such a deep conversation about their past that they hardly noticed Blaine at all. I think Brock maybe has an accent? I don't know. Suddenly, Jennifer's story about her 6th birthday was put to a hold as Blaine's hand shot out in front of them. What is it? Whispered Jennifer, in case anyone could hear them. Shh, listen, said Blaine cautiously. There was a silence for a moment, then... Boom! There was a deafening blast. Jennifer covered her ears. Then some dancing mushrooms came running, or more of skipping away, while a dozen or so of Evella's troops hurried to corner the plants. The biggest one squeaked, the others shrieked shrilly afterwards in a chorus of sound, then a mist came out of their mouths. Make all of Evella's troops fall over. Oh, okay. So I guess that's it. I guess I had to end it on the on the dancing mushroom thing, and then it goes into a Harry Potter fanfic that I didn't remember writing either. Perhaps that is something for another day. Harry Potter and the Eye of the Dragon, not so much the tiger. So that's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. The end. Okay, I lied. I was looking through the book more, and I found the sequel slash rewrite. Eh? So, I'm going to read to you the rest of that. Chapter 1. The Super Squad. This book is just about a group of teenagers just trying to get through life and be superheroes at the same time. It all starts in a place completely opposite of ours, where there's many different galaxies and worlds where everyone has powers except for Earthlings, which very few of them are left at this time. What's very strange is that it's virtually impossible for these kids to be superheroes and live normal lives too. It starts in the year 3120. When two children were born, they were the first to have powers. The two sisters were very unique. Olivia was very competitive with Rachel, but she was still was very happy and aware of her future. Oh, Olivia was Evella. Oh, that's clever. But something went wrong. She tried to murder Rachel, but failed. Well, I guess that would go wrong. She left her home to be lost forever. Rachel then had a new problem. Evella took over the galaxies and enslaved the people. Rachel could stand no more of this. Every person Evella thought would be a threat to her was attacked, all saved by Rachel. They were put through special training programs all their life with secret identities until they could fight back. They fought Evella. She lived, but did no longer have control. Brock was a Mercian from Merc. Mercians were known for strength and endurance. Eve and Serena were twins who were mixes of different kinds of specimens who were telepathic. Queenie was a genie from Jen with mixes of powers. Bubbles was from the Water Galaxy. Gee, I wonder what I was watching at the time. Her fins were taken away so she could be part of the Resistance. Ariel was also from the Water Galaxy, who came with Bubbles. Calico was a Salemite from Salem, who was similar to a house cat, but larger, and was one of the few Salemites without a pack. Cats are known for packs. Jennifer, Kima, Kirobi, Anastasia, a fairy, Rachel, Coma, Kima's daughter, and Sarah were from the Wild Galaxy. Amy was a Flynogian and could fly. The fuck? Okay. These people were known as the Super Squad. Chapter 2. Evella Seeks Revenge. "Come look at this," said Anastasia. "There's a strong source of power coming this way." She pointed at the computer screen. "I'll check it out," Brock said. "Me too," said Ariel. Suddenly there was a huge blast, and metal went flying everywhere. There stood, after 10 years, the one and only Evella. She disappeared, and the lights went out. It was pitch black, and there was suddenly a thud and the sound of someone falling to the ground. The lights went on, and Evella was holding Brock unconscious with a laser gun held right to his head. Amy flew, and Brock fell. Evella shot at Brock, but Ariel jumped in the way and suffered the consequences. Evella disappeared. Brock ran to Evella's lair. Ran all the way there, apparently. Evella saw him inside and shot fireballs. Brock jumped and they hit propane tanks, and he jumped out the window and felt the warmth of the fire from the explosion. Evella was gone. It was all over. But Ariel was hurt. He hurried back. Chapter 3. Ariel's Farewell. A few months after Ariel's recovery, not that much of a farewell, Brock came to see her. "What are all the bags for?" "I'm returning home to the Water Galaxy," she replied. She burst into tears and hugged him. "Farewell, Brock. I'll never forget you." Then she climbed onto the rocket and sped of into the starry sky. Chapter 4. Evella Returns. 13 years had passed. Everyone was at a private party for themselves. There was a big blast. No, it couldn't be, Brock thought. But it was. There stood in the flesh, Evella. A huge fight broke out. Evella was winning, in parentheses. Then Evella stopped. She disappeared once more. Why did she stop when she was winning? Said Jennifer. This was too easy, said Amy. Chapter 5. A Big Surprise. Suddenly there was a knock on the door. It was so light they could barely hear it. Brock cautiously opened the door, and there was Ariel, bright as ever, and smiling ear to ear. She hugged Brock so tightly and so lovingly, it was as if two people were one. Evella's returned, said Brock. I know, said Ariel. That's why I came. I had a feeling you were in trouble, so I left. Oh, really short trip there. Chapter 6. Evella's Defeat. Evella burst in again. She put on a terrible fight. Everyone was wounded. There was smoke. There was a lot of damage. There was blood, too. Evella stood and laughed. Which is the first to go? She went slowly to Brock and Ariel. I love you, Brock. I love you, too. They held each other tighty, and kissed. Suddenly there was a big burst of light coming from them. It hit Evella, and she fell and was dying. Rachel came to Evella. Goodbye, Olivia. Oh, I've spoiled it, sorry. And Evella shut her eyes and lay lifeless. No one ever knew why that burst of light came from Brock and Ariel, but I know for a fact it was their love that drove her back. There was no longer a war. It was over, and it stayed that way until the end of their lives. The end. That's a nice story. And that is the end.